And I'm going to give you a different way of looking at it. And first I'm going to start off by explaining that there are many different ways of looking at addiction. Everybody in this room, everybody in my family had a way of looking at addiction. It was their way of trying to understand the problem and trying to figure out a solution. And everybody on the planet has a way of looking at addiction. And very rarely are we always on the same page. And I'll give you some examples. I'm going to give you some generic examples of models of addiction. Now understand, my family didn't know they believed in this. But I'll start with, for example, my mom. So we'll start with my mom. My mom was a believer in different models of addiction. How she looked at the problem was her way. And she didn't know these terms. She didn't read it in a book. It was just how she looked at it. And my mom, like many moms, was a believer in a therapeutic model of addiction. She didn't know that term. She didn't even know what the heck it meant. If you had asked her, she wouldn't have known what you were talking about. But a therapeutic model means, it comes from therapy, of course. She knew in her heart that if I found the right person, an expert, a therapist, a psychologist, and if I met that right person, we could talk about whatever was going on with me, and it would help me. My mom had seen, I don't know, Dr. Phil and Oprah and all the different talk shows, and she had a lot of faith that if she found the right person, and moms are sneaky, and she would say things like, you know, Aunt Edna wasn't doing real well. Remember after that divorce, Aunt Edna? And she started seeing a therapist, and she's doing really well right now. David, would you be willing to see a therapist? Mom, I don't really want to see a therapist. Okay. Eric, he's a therapist. He's cool like you. My mom was a big believer in a therapeutic model, talk therapy. And she would ask, did something happen, David? Because you don't seem to want to talk to me anymore. My mother tried to talk to me. And it's interesting, if you're connected with somebody who struggles with addiction, there comes a shift. And the shift is, I went from rock and roll, long-haired, drinking for pleasure, partying for pleasure, person, outgoing and out, and it shifted and I changed. And when it changes and you watch the person change, it's baffling to watch. And what had happened is it began introverting. And instead of me going outward, it became inward. And they saw a happy kid turn into an unhappy, introverted, insecure. And I started focusing, and I was irritated. My mother would try to talk to me, and I was like, I don't want to talk about it right now. And the thread that was connecting us was getting thinner and thinner, and she didn't know what to do. So she thought, you know what, if you can't talk to me, maybe you could talk to somebody. And David, did something happen to you? You can tell me. When you were younger, did the babysitter? I mean, I don't mean to make you embarrassed, but please. My mother looked back on her life trying to find the why. There has to be a why, because everything was going so well. And it's not going so well right now. So what do? My mother's a big believer in a therapeutic model that through talk therapy or by revisiting or addressing things that happened in the past that maybe I could overcome or I could develop coping mechanisms to deal with life. A therapeutic model. My mother was also a big believer in a treatment model. TX stands for treatment. People that believe in treatment as a model look at treatment, interestingly enough, like a hospital. In other words, you come in the front door sick, and a few days later, or 28 days later, you come out better. And it seems to make sense because she had had experiences with hospital. You break your leg, you come in, you come out better. A treatment team, there are doctors, you fix the kid. And you'll understand when people believe in a treatment model because they look at it as if you come in and you come out like cured or better, right? And the question or the statement that people make that believe in a treatment model a lot are, did it work? Or he went to treatment, oh, it didn't work. He went to that program over there, and I did well for a while, but it didn't work. It didn't work. And it's an interesting statement. It did not work. But there are a lot of people that believe in treatment as an answer, and my mother was a big believer that the treatment program I had just been through didn't work, so somewhere out there was the magic place. And I went to a lot of different types of treatment. When you're a big believer or you're on a quest for the magic rehab, a lot of them were the traditional 28-day kind of 12-step programs, but I went to non-traditional options. I went to a lot of different things. I became a Mormon for a while. I converted to Mormonism. And I remember getting baptized in the Mormon faith. I remember coming up out of the water and asking, did it work? And then wondering why it didn't 6 months later. I was a Scientologist for a while. My mom found a Scientology program. She didn't know it was a Scientology program at the time. When I got there, I called, I go, Mom, do you know this is like a cult? And my mother said the greatest line in the world. She said, she took a deep breath and she said, David, all the drugs you have been doing, your brain is in need of a good washing anyway. And she hung up the phone on me. You know your drug life is getting really, really bad when they choose cult over drug addiction, but she was pretty cool with it. And everywhere that I went, Scientology or Mormonism or 12 step, it seemed like there were people that were passionate about the recovery and there were people that actually got clean and sober, but it seemed like none of them were ever going to be me. And my mother went on the magic quest that if this program didn't work, maybe this one would. And she tried local programs, and then she tried programs over there and programs here and programs here. The magic quest, the quest for the magic rehab. My mother's a big believer in treatment as a model. And treatment can be a trap. I work at a treatment center. I've started a treatment center. I've worked in... Treatment can be a trap because we come in and we look sick. And when we... I'm not saying you look sick. So we come in and we look sick. And 28 days later, we sound better, we look better, we feel better, and we're away from our drug life to such a degree that we stop thinking about it for a while, so we think, I'm better. And we have hopes and dreams, and I start thinking I'm going to go back to college and stuff like that. And 28 days later, I go out the door, and I get on that plane or get in that bus or get in that car. And I go home, and all of a sudden the thoughts and the whispers return, and I ask myself, what did I do wrong? Why didn't it work? What happened? It didn't work, right? It's interesting, when people say that line, did it work, it didn't work, I always ask them, did you go to church? Out of curiosity, did you go to church last Sunday? Who went to church? Church. Cool. Did it work? It's the wrong way of looking at it. Did you go to the gym? Did it work? Didn't work for me, obviously. You can see I'm getting a little heavier. But so, therapeutic model and a treatment model, and then there's a medical model. A medical model, a lot of times, think of the word medication. Medical model or a biological model, sometimes called a disease model, is that I genetically either inherited this, I have a genetic predisposition or a biological disposition, or that my body is somehow out of whack, right? And that medication could possibly fix me. Medical model is that perhaps a medication could bring this into absence, right? So my mother, when I started shifting and Party Dave went away, well, I have some other issues. The mood swings, the ups, the downs. I'm on top of the world. I'm angry. I'm ornery. She didn't know what the heck was going on, so she started thinking, well, maybe it isn't just drugs. Maybe he's got other issues. Maybe he's depressed. He doesn't look very happy. You know, he tried to commit suicide the other day, which I did. I got scars on my wrist from a bad day. Maybe he's bipolar. That one doctor thought he was bipolar. So she started thinking that maybe medication is the answer. And moms are sneaky. My mom would say, you know, Cousin Joe, he wasn't doing real well. And he got on that lithium. I don't know much about that stuff, David, but would you be willing to get onto lithium? Moms are sneaky. She said, you know what, David, I used to smoke cigarettes, and I know it's not the same as drugs and cocaine, but you know I smoked for years. And I got on Wellbutrin, and the cravings got less, and I haven't had a cigarette in years. David, would you be willing to try Wellbutrin? Mom, I don't want to get on these medication. David, you'll smoke crack cocaine, but you won't take Prozac? What is wrong with you? I have my convictions, Mom. So, moms have a different way of looking at it.